I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
Ich bin ein Lehrling.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable.
This modern world of science and invention is of particular interest to women.
The people, I would say, there is no patent. Would you patent the sun?
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
Welcome to the Biographers.
Create these things, and I'm like, you are incredible.
Are you talking about like the visual effects artist? Or are you talking about like Stan Lee who invented
Stan Lee, and
Sure.
then all of the people who came along and were like, okay, we are weaving this into this crazy. I mean, there's 5 phases of Marvel. Like I think there's like 18 movies in phases 1, 2, and whatever takes you up to Endgame, and then there's more, and it's. I think that part of it is like people might look at it as like, okay, well, it's a capitalistic grab at, people getting addicted to stuff, but like, it is cool. Like,
No, say what you will about the decline of film and stuff like that, but which has been a big commentary recently, especially with, older folks like Scorsese and Tarantino all kind of like saying, we're not going to be doing this much longer. We're going to be done soon. So I personally, though, see these types of people like Kevin, I think his name is pronounced Feige? F-I-E-G-E. So if you don't know this name, Kevin Feige or Feige or something like that, he is the guy who basically, his production company, his little team of minds, when, so I don't know how soon it started. I think it was right around the time of Captain America, because when they did Iron Man, they were like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if there's an audience for Iron Man. And then it blew the freaking doors off the box offices, and they went, oh, so if we made a bunch of Marvel movies, you guys would be into it? And all of us said, yes, we would. So from the very beginning, his production team, Kevin Feige or whatever it is, sat down and basically said, guys, what are we going to do? And they plotted the entirety of the, like, movie for movie, beat for beat, and it is going to go to a 2-part finale. It's going to be called Infinity War, and then it's going to have this other thing called Endgame, and it's how we're going to, and it was every single character was plotted out from the very beginning. So a lot of people that have been critical of the DC kind of cinematic universe over the past number of years have basically looked at Kevin Feige and said, like, that's why you guys have failed. You didn't plan from the beginning. You thought you could piecemeal it together as you went along, and it didn't work out.
So that's something I think I mentioned in the last, I was a journalism major. I've always been like trying to be a writer. I have thoughts. I haven't sat down and like really done something. But I remember in English class, you'd get an essay assignment and it'd be like, okay, structure your outline for your paper. And if I did that, I'd get an A. And if I winged it, maybe a B.
Yeah.
Maybe a C.
Totally.
And the thing, another, I don't know, show that follows this is How I Met Your Mother. Like, in How I Met Your Mother, if you did, I don't know if you watched it.
Oh,
but,
all the way through, yeah.
Yeah, all the way through. And it's been a while. But they have all these things that jump back and forth in time.
They
and
do.
I feel like they were one of the earlier ones to do that. Because, like, I don't know, that show This Is Us, I mean, the whole thing was like, they're jumping back to when they were young and older and then in the future and all this stuff. And so that whole, like, jumping back in time thing is the same concept as all this Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
I think it kind of goes back to what we're going to talk about in this podcast, which is somebody who has a life that is long and impactful, and all these other people have they have long, impactful lives, and your lives cross, and having an interaction here or there may change the course of your journey. And that's just what Marvel's doing. It's just thinking about it from this holistic level. And just watching Doctor Strange again last night, which I had seen, but I had kind of forgotten, then they take it into the multiverse. And it's like all these things. And last year, what was the Everything Everywhere All at Once? And
I haven't seen, and I really want to, and I don't know why I haven't.
It was multiverse. And it was just, the thing that I love about it is we are so limited.
Sure.
And imagination is so important. And I think that we just forget to use it.
Totally.
And a lot of this imagination in all this multiverse stuff, it is based in scientific theory.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just like made up somewhere. Science fiction is based on science.
Well, but that's what makes, I don't know, that's why I think this kind of stuff is so neat to think about, even though most scientists that if you ask, so this all stems from string theory if you don't know this, but it's basically we've found that there are these micro vibrations that exist on other planes, and we've more or less proven, at least theoretically proven, that there are other universes, other multiverses. But, there's this lovely little thought when you're a teenager, when you kind of figure this stuff out, that you're like, so that means there could be a world that I live in, some other universe where I'm Spider-Man? And it's like, no.
I mean, there could actually, technically.
But no. But, like, that's the thing, is that, like, that's not what the science is saying. They're not saying that any universe that could possibly be conceived exists. It just means that there are an infinite number of possibilities, and that's a very different thing. So,
yes, you're right. The possibility is there. Whether or not it exists is not necessarily... But
it does not mean that in some weird universe there's been these genetic anomalies where now we have mutants like X-Men and Spider-Man running around. Like, that's not the implication. It's more the implication of, like, well, if this other universe existed, then the whole timeline could be skewed, and you could have never existed to begin with, and that could be the majority of those possibilities, that you just don't exist in any of them. So it's a crazy thought to think about, but that's sort of what the implication is.
This is also, just make a note, it's making me want to go back and rewatch Interstellar, because I feel like that one also kind of
Nolan is
think about
obsessed
that.
with that kind of stuff.
Okay. Oh, and what was the one with was it Jeremy Renner and the circle? The aliens come and they're talking to them.
Oh.
Arrival?
Arrival with Amy
Yes!
Adams.
Oh
Great
my
one.
gosh, that was so good too.
Great one.
Man, okay, I've just got a lot of movies that I need to go revisit.
I'm excited for you to watch Multiverse of Madness. And
I can't wait. I
brought
gotta
it up-
watch it in order though, because I'm a stickler for that.
Completely agree, and there are some things that, like, they do a good job that if you, truth be told, I watched it before I watched the Spider-Man Far From Home or No Way Home, or whatever the latest one was, where there's multiverse crap going on or whatever, and I didn't see that one because it wasn't on the Disney Plus streaming thing, because Sony made it or whatever. So I watched the Multiverse of Madness first, and they do a nice job of basically giving you like a 30-second at one point, like, here's where we are. In case you missed a second, here's what sort of happened or whatever. But the reason that I love Multiverse of Madness is because I am a absolute, like, dork for Sam Raimi as a director, who did Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness.
Okay, this explains a lot.
Drag Me to Hell. Like, he like you said before we started recording a few minutes ago, you said something, we were talking about the Barbie movie, and I didn't know this. You were telling me about how there was apparently a conceptual 2016 Amy Schumer Barbie movie, which I didn't know about.
Which was going to be very just Amy Schumer-y. She's not good enough to be in Barbie. And like, I will tell you, I think Amy Schumer has
I like her.
She actually had a show, Life and Beth, that was pretty thoughtful. Okay. I really liked that one. It's less gross,
Sure.
For lack of better.
For Amy Schumer's
I like her because she's pretty real. She's like, I got a tummy tuck after I had a baby because that would make me feel better, and you should do that if you want. And it's like, you should do that if you want. Anyway, but yes,
you mentioned something.
Universe
you said something about Jell-O shoes.
Yeah, like it was a concept.
And you said something that somebody's made the comment of, like, hey, be camp, but do it on purpose.
Sense.
Have it make sense.
Be camp, but make sense.
Sam Raimi is the king of camp that makes sense.
Okay.
So, like, all of that stuff, like, if you haven't seen Evil Dead 2, by the way, it's a masterclass of cinema, if you ask me. It is just
do I
like...
need to see Evil Dead 1?
No. So God, we're getting so far off track to get onto this podcast. I might have to cut some of this out. But if you don't know the history of this, basically, Sam Raimi, fresh out of college, he was best friends with Bruce Campbell. If you know who Bruce Campbell is, he's an awesome actor. And on a shoestring budget, Sam Raimi made Evil Dead 1. If you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can see the cake mold on the people's face that's supposed to look like zombie skin, and it just doesn't look great.
Hey, you know what? You got to be resourceful.
No, and it is great for what it is, in that it's very B-movie, very low budget. It still is successful, still has some good scares, but ultimately what happened was, when it came out, Sam Raimi went, I've been dreaming about this movie for 10 years more, and it just wasn't.
It wasn't it.
It wasn't it. It wasn't
close.
what I wanted.
It was
right.
going
like, it
in
was
the right
so
direction.
Close.
But give me a do-over.
If I just had the budget. So then a number of years later, whatever it was, 3, 4, 5 years later, he actually gets the funding and the budget and makes quote unquote Evil Dead 2. And if you watch the two movies, they're almost the same movie, but number 2 is like, we're going balls to the wall here. We're going to be sillier. You're going to have this weird sensation when you're watching the movie. You're going to go like,
Well,
but should I be laughing? This
Halloween
is weird.
season is coming, so this is perfect timing.
So yeah, Evil Dead 2 is this weird combination of dark humor and genuine horror. It's bizarre and awesome, and I love it. And so with that in mind, Multiverse of Madness is done by Sam Raimi as well.
So
and
you love that.
It has many Sam Raimi elements, and let me just say, it made me very happy to watch it.
Well, I just love when you have those moments where it's like, oh, this happened, and then this random thing relates it to this other thing that seems unrelated, and then it's the same.
Sure.
Like we talked about this a little bit, like with Mabel Dodge and people who she encountered who are aligned with Queen Victoria, and then also someone else you're going to cover, and actually someone I'm thinking I'm going to cover based on my Queen Victoria journey. So like, it's just interesting how we're all so interconnected. I wonder, even with like contact tracing and stuff, like how much information do they have on like, okay, we live in the Denver metropolitan area. How often are we physically near some neighbor that we've never spoken to, that we wouldn't recognize or register, but we're around them constantly? Like, I wonder about like, you know, the way that where people are moving, and like, you know, oh, I was at this coffee shop and then I left my coffee cup there, and then the person came in and then they were the one that cleaned it up, or I don't know. It's just how much are we interconnected? It's just kind of interesting.
No, dude. You could not be hitting on more of a soft spot for me. So last week, if not the week before, when I was at the Forge, if anybody doesn't know this, I do blacksmithing and knife making.
He's making it sound like pretty cool, but it's like freaking cool, guys.
Most of the credit.
We should put a little bit of picture or something of what you've done on the website.
Sure, if you're curious, but most of the credit.
On Instagram too.
Sure, but most of the credit goes to my instructor Akiva, who I will give a shout out to over here. Hey Akiva, hey buddy, love you. But he was telling me how he's been listening to the podcast, and he listened to part 5 of Mabel, and he was like, dude, I listened to part 5, it was great, it was very encouraging, it was very sweet, and he made a comment of something like, he goes, yeah man, it's crazy, just like listening to her whole life, I just like, there are so many people that I know that are so much like her. And I was like, you have no idea how happy that makes me feel, because that's been my intention from day one of doing this, is like, I have always seen history, and a lot of times, as this very far off thing, this very distant, almost godlike figures doing these sorts of things. But the more that I, have gotten older and done my own kind of research into people, the more, just like Akiva said to me, it was like the more that I find these people relatable. And that's the thing that I want to like do with all of what we're doing here, is just like dispel this idea that these foreign leaders and historical figures were these just different human beings.
We're going to have some very relatable stuff in this episode.
I am so excited. And I feel like that's our perfect little segue
it's a perfect
to get
little
us going.
Segue. So, hey, I'm Aubrey McCarthy.
I'm Daniel Newman.
And this is the Biographers Podcast.
Woo woo. We're getting
Nailed
better at
it.
this. Getting better.
Yeah, let's get started.
I'm excited.
Okay, so I kind of name my episodes sort of. Not really. It's just this one's Victoria, a young queen. Lord Melbourne, coronation and scandal.
Oh, okay. Lord Melbourne?
Lord Melbourne.
Okay, like the Australian city.
I don't actually, that's a good comment. I mean, I'm guessing it's all the same because
that's almost definitely I could be wrong, but it seems like it's got to come from that lineage.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's definitely related. Okay, so where we left off, Victoria's uncle had passed away shortly after her 18th birthday, and she had become the queen. And remember, it happened just in a room in Kensington Palace. They showed up and they're like, "You're the queen now." And she was like, "Okay."
And didn't she keep them waiting for a while?
Yeah, well, inadvertently they were kept waiting for a while because like everyone was asleep.
Oh, that's right. It was like that rainy, dark night when the rider came in.
Yes.
Like Paul Revere's
They were like knocking on the door and the guy's like snoring and they're like, "Hello, I have a very important message to deliver."
That's right. Okay.
Anyway, then she came in and she went down the stairs and they told her, and anyway. So she has now finally gotten herself out from under the thumb of her mother and John Conroy, and she's met her first prime minister of her rule, Lord Melbourne. We'll learn more about him shortly. The country was under the spell of Regina Mania. They loved her. Grown men wept when she spoke. And she was establishing herself. She was challenging convention, and she was preparing for her coronation.
Okay.
So we all probably know Buckingham Palace. I'm sure most of us, when I say that, can visualize it in their heads. It's where the royal family lives and where many major public events happen. You'd recognize the famous balcony where members of the royal family stand from time to time to get photo opportunities and wave. The royal wave. But Buckingham Palace was not always the royal residence. George III had bought it in 1761, and George IV later rebuilt it.
Interesting.
Victoria was the first sovereign to actually live there, and she made the most of the renovations that we see today. So it was kind of her ideas and renovations that make it look like what you see when they're like, I'm on a tour, or you're taking pictures inside, and the king is
And
there.
it looks super regal
Yes.
and everything.
That was mostly her. She wanted all these renovations done very quickly after she became queen, so a bunch of people were hired to make sure everything was completed to her taste in only a few weeks.
Wow.
But you know, when the queen says jump, you say how high, right?
The highest word in the land.
Yeah. She was really excited about this palace because it was bright and it had mirrors and was huge enough that she could be far, far away from her mother.
Wasn't she like on invitation only status now?
Well, yeah, like everyone's on invitation only status with her, actually. So yes, her mother was demoted to you're just like the rest of us. Yeah, and if we remember where she had grown up, Kensington Palace, remember there were like dead cats in the sewers below and stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah,
this
that's
was an upgrade.
Totally.
Buckingham Palace was centrally located, freshly painted, and very, very grand. She had a reception right after she moved in on July 19th, 1837, and it said that her hand was kissed more than 3,000 times.
Holy moly. Better wash that hand.
Yeah, I know. I think about like COVID, and I'm like,
Thinking about
oh,
like
man.
at the time like the plague.
I
and all
know.
these like
Anything.
lepers
There
coming
were-
over like,
there were
"Oh,
no
queen, I
antibiotics."
want to give you a kiss on the hand.
I don't know. I think it was maybe a little more aristocratic people.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
I just love the idea of a bunch of like lepers lining up to kiss the queen's hand,
I'm just
and she
thinking
has to
about-
just do it.
you're holding your hand out, and like, how sweaty is your hand going to get? Is your arm going to be tired? Do they have a little pillow under your forearm to
Ooh,
like
I almost
hold
say
it
like
up?
$10 say there's one, she's wearing a glove, like
Oh.
like a fancy lacy glove,
Mhm.
right? And then two, I bet you anything, there were always titles like this, like the royal hand holder.
Yes.
There had to have been like a dude whose entire job was just like, "Oh, me lady, I need to hold up your wrist."
No, okay, that's making me think of something that is not. I didn't just research this. I just remember this random fact about Queen Elizabeth, who recently passed. She had somebody that was always around, and she had special cues. So, like, if she had her
Like lines of people?
like no, sorry, like cues, like I'm going to cue you to do something. So like she'd hold her purse. She always had her little purse.
Okay.
And if she moved it to her left hand, I can't remember the specifics of it, but if she did something like moving it to a certain way, then that was the secret
That's the
move
cue.
that told the person who was kind of like her little handler helper person to be like, okay, and the queen's done, bye.
That's power right there, dude. That's
love it.
really cool.
I love it. Anyway, that just made me think of that when you were talking about the royal hand holder. And actually, there's someone that's going to come up a little bit later who...
It's kind of the royal hand holder.
Well, no, he just was doing something pretty royally important and royally screwed up. So we'll get
okay.
there. Anyway, so again, it's summer. In August, she rode a horse for the first time in 2 years.
Wow.
Prior to that, she wasn't allowed to ride alone under the Kensington system. She'd always been accompanied by John Conroy because safety first, right?
Sure.
She liked the way that she looked on a horse because she believed she looked taller and alluring. Remember, she's a little short and a little rotund.
She's a little
and-
chunk.
Yeah, so she want, being on a horse, it's good. Although,
The horse looks much bigger than her, so I understand that.
I see. Victoria began to pay off her father's debts with her new income and received many thank you notes for it. The Duchess, her mother, however, was a chronic overspender and would ask Victoria for more and more money. Apparently, letters between Victoria and her mother regarding money were eliminated from official selections that were published after her death. So the mother-daughter feud went on. So in this time, Victoria was preparing for her coronation. Daniel, did you watch any of the recent coronation activities with King Charles?
I did not. I have no interest in watching a skeleton have clothing draped onto him.
I I can see. It's funny. I watched William and Kate Middleton get married. I watched Harry and Meghan Markle get married, but the coronation of King Charles, I was kind of like, meh.
Dude, nobody. I could be wrong about this,
really
but I
likes
don't know
him.
that anybody likes King Charles. That doesn't even sound right saying.
He was married to Princess Diana, whom everyone loved.
Yep.
A little bit due to him, it all went down. So I think people are like, meh, and then Camilla's there. Anyway, but
I agree.
I did read some articles around the time, though, because I thought it was interesting to, like, know about, again, like the history and the pomp and circumstance, and some of that stuff that I picked up a couple months ago, I've kind of added in here, too, so we'll learn a little bit more about, like, the things that they are the same from Victoria's and Charles's, because it's all historical, traditional, everything. So it's kind of cool.
Cool.
So for those of you listening, since Daniel and I, neither of us actually watched the King Charles coronation, but I did read about it. There was about a year between the death of his mother and his coronation. And that's pretty common for a year or so to be between when someone ascends to the throne and when they're actually like have their coronation, they're actually formally crowned. You become the sovereign when the person before you dies, but it takes a while to plan this enormous lavish event.
That was my question. It is an immediate, like, sort of handing of the keys when they die, so to speak.
They are in charge. It's like if the president died and the vice president was sworn in 2 minutes later.
Gotcha.
Yes, it is done. But we're throwing a big party, and you don't plan it before the other person dies because that would be in poor taste.
And there are people that got to come into town.
Yeah.
They got to plan.
Lots of stuff. People got it. Well, and think about back then. All the clothes you might wear have to be specially made, and like there's some stuff around some other things with that. So it takes a long time to plan such an event.
Like you can't book something on Google back in the day, right? You're having letters back and forth of being like, hey, is this place ready for me to stay at for the coronation? I'm sure. So there's a lot of planning.
There's a lot going into it. So Victoria's coronation didn't occur until the following year, June 28th. 1838.
38. And how old is she about? Do you know at this point?
19.
19. Okay.
So the coronation was a spectacle. Roughly 400,000 people in attendance. 2/3 of the population of London.
Wow.
More than 1,000 booths of food, drinks, and wares were erected across 50 acres in Hyde Park. There were performers, exotic animals, and though the term is no longer PC, freak shows, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
all the, like the bearded woman and all the things. A man in a dancing booth is reported, unfortunately, to have died, probably of an epileptic seizure. But according to the official report, it was the visitation of God that killed him.
Oh, boy. Now, I do have to say about the freak show really quick, though.
Yeah, go. I figured you'd have a comment.
Gobble, gobble, we accept you, one of us.
Wait, I don't know what that's from.
Have
is it
you
like
not
Goonies
seen
or
it?
something?
It's, oh God, what is it called? I think is it called The Freaks? It's called the something. It's this, so I don't know if you heard the Ramones song. But it's like the anthem of the Ramones. Gobble, gobble, we accept you, one of us. And it's this whole movie about this group of circus performers, like, for lack of a better term, freak show performers. Again, not super PC anymore. But, and then this one beautiful woman who basically takes advantage of a little person to steal his fortune. And then it backfires on her, and all of the performers mutilate her and turn her into the bird woman, and that's how she lives out the rest of her days, and it's radical.
Okay, we will look that up and we will drop it on the website.
Such a good movie.
I was thinking there's a book series called Cirque du Freak, which is
I know that.
It was a teen novel, and a little boy like discovers that there's vampires, and he like
I didn't know what it was about.
He becomes a vampire's assistant. It's like a 12-book series. It's actually pretty good. We listened to it on Audible.
Cool.
Except I think we have the last one to listen to. But they made a movie of it, and like John C. Reilly was in it. But then it kind of flopped at the box office, so they didn't make the rest of the movies.
I remember seeing that,
I haven't seen the movie yet.
I'll be honest with you. I think it's a case of bad marketing, because when I saw Cirque du Freak, I automatically thought it was going to be like one of those weird Rob Zombie
Well,
movies.
yeah. Well,
that
that's
was
the
just
name of the
like-
book, but yeah.
Totally, but that's just the image that I got from it, and I was like, I'm not really interested. If I knew it was like a sort of young adult novel series about a guy who becomes a vampire's assistant, I would have been like, cool, maybe I'll go check this
Well,
out.
and
But
that-
Cirque du Freak
And
sounds
that's just the beginning. And
bad.
actually thinking about all these universes we were talking about earlier, like there's like other dimensions in that. I mean, it's like people who are writing stuff are like they're doing cool stuff.
They're
and
smart
like
people.
thinking outside the box.
I like it.
Anyway, where were we? There were freak shows.
Yes.
A man died because of his visitation of God. But with dark comes light. There was also a baby born that day to a wife of a gingerbread baker, and they named the baby Hyde Park for where he was born. Hello, I'm Hyde Park. Apparently that booth remained set up for days, and people brought gifts to the mother and the child, kind of like a little coronation Jesus.
Okay, fun. The little mascot for the event.
Yeah, I think so. But it wasn't just in
Oh my
London.
God, which, by the way, now I'm like, is Jesus the mascot of Christmas?
I don't know the chicken or the egg came first on
Anyway,
that.
no, that's a total. I'm just joking about this, but that's a totally different thing. Anyway,
I mean,
sorry.
yeah, a little bit.
I'm derailing
or
you.
is it Santa? No, anyway,
Oh, that's true. It depends on who you ask, right?
Jesus is like the quarterback and Santa is like the mascot.
That's probably true. Or like Jesus is like the owner of the team.
Jesus is like Roger Goodell of never mind. Okay, we got to stop.
It's George Steinbrenner.
I want him to be like the Troy Aikman of anyway, whatever.
I want Jesus to be the George Steinbrenner of Christmas. Like, Georgie boy.
I think that we should probably move on.
Okay.
Our metaphor has digressed to
Enough.
NFL. Anyway, it wasn't just in London, though. These festivities were celebrated across Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and the rest of England as well. This was interesting to me. Even those in workhouses and jails were given a feast, and paupers were given a coronation allowance so that they could participate.
That's sweet.
So I would think about like, okay, when president in the United States is like sworn in, it's not like they get a special meal in prison, probably.
Be
Who
cool
knows?
if they
maybe
got a
maybe
special
they're
meal.
like, maybe they're gonna like let us out for, you know, misdemeanor stuff. Maybe it's hope that they get
For
on
the
that
American
day.
president, it's the exact opposite. It's when they leave office, their favorite friends in jail get to get out.
Yeah, they get pardoned.
Yep.
Oh
It's the
man.
exact opposite.
Yes.
Hashtag justice.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So it sounds like Victoria and we possibly share a little bit of anxiety. She was so stressed out the night before her coronation that she could barely sleep, which is, you know, I think all of us would be.
Sure.
But she had a sense that something, quote, very awful was going to happen during the coronation. Having never been to a coronation, she was justifiably nervous about making a mistake. I can't say that the day went off without a hitch, but it went pretty well. I mean, she became the queen, or she was coronated.
There wasn't like an assassination attempt or anything?
No,
Okay.
not that much.
Not many.
We'll talk about a bunch of the snafus in a minute.
Okay.
The morning of the event, Victoria got ready in her white and gold coronation dress, which she later actually allowed it to be recreated by Madame Tussaud in her wax museum.
Ooh.
So that was kind of cool. Victoria climbed into the gold stagecoach at 10 a.m. and started an hour and a half, 3-mile drive to Westminster Abbey, past many notable places including Trafalgar Square and Piccadilly. The coach itself was designed by William Chambers and created by Samuel Butler in 1762, so it was 75 years old at this point.
Wow.
It had been used in every coronation since William IV's in 1831, but more recently, or it has been used in every coronation since William I in 1831, and I'm saying since 1831 to now.
Gotcha.
More recently, Queen Elizabeth II said it was horrible to travel in.
A solid gold carriage. I wonder why.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. Apparently, on the day of her coronation, it was unseasonably cold, and they had to like put hot water bottles in there with her.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
I can't imagine that had much suspension either.
no, and it's
And on
only
the streets of London with a cobble and everything.
yes. Back then, it's not like they had pavement.
Yeah.
The coach is only ever driven at a walking pace, so it takes a while to get anywhere. It's partially because it's so heavy. and it weighs 4 tons.
Oh my gosh.
It must be pulled by 8 horses.
Jeez.
Tying to recent events, at King Charles's coronation, Charles broke tradition and only rode the Gold State coach back to Buckingham Palace after he had gone to the coronation ceremony.
He's got a sensitive bum. We can't have him on those streets with that carriage.
Usually it's a round trip, situation. But yes, I agree. You got to be. He's an old dude. It's not like he was some 19-year-old girl.
He's gonna break a hip in that thing.
Yep. Instead, he took the Diamond Jubilee Stagecoach to his coronation, which was created to commemorate his mother, Queen Elizabeth II's 80th birthday. That coach is modern. It's made of aluminum. It has power windows and AC. It's got a mount for a camera. It's probably not horrible to travel in.
I don't know much about King Charles now, but it feels like the most King Charles thing ever to be like, oh no, I'm not going to take the carriage all the way. I'm going to take the one that Mummy had built for a few years back. Like, that's what it feels to me.
I guess, I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel, because I would be like, it's so cool to take the coach that's from the 1700s.
That's how I would feel.
I mean, I don't care how uncomfortable it is. It seems like you could put some
suck it up
pillows
for
in
the
there
hour
or
and a
something.
half, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like,
well, and then the other hour and a half to get back, I guess, would be.
Which I was just about to say, like, I am not super familiar with the geography of London, but an hour and a half from Westminster Abbey to Buckingham Palace seems like a long time.
Well, you have to go at a walking pace.
Exactly.
And it's like a slow walking pace because there's all these people lining the
wanting
roads.
to wave to
and the horses, and you got to keep them chill because, horses could like
Gotcha.
So it's like definitely a very like I don't know, regal and slow movement.
Yes.
I don't know. Anyway, so Victoria actually didn't really care much about the coach itself on her coronation day, though I did read that later in life she didn't like traveling in it, especially she didn't love traveling in it.
Sure.
So I think nobody really liked the.
So, is this gold carriage? Is this like the designated vehicle for the royals, or is this just for very special events?
It's for very special events. They have other coaches, but this Gold State coach is like the one that people use for the coronation, and it's worth like millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's like
probably
crazy,
priceless at this point.
Yeah, I think they drive in cars most of the time these days. But anyway, Victoria was really more interested in what was happening outside of the coach. And I'm just going to comment on this because I keep saying coach and I keep saying carriage. And so I was like, well, what is it? Is it a coach or a carriage? So all coaches are carriages, but not all carriages are coaches.
Okay.
So a coach is a category of a type of carriage.
I'm assuming covered.
Yeah, it has something to do. It was weird. I spent 20 minutes trying to figure this out, and I kept getting like all these kind of weird conflicting things. But it said something about having like 4 pillars all the way around and being closed off. And then someone was like, well, it could have fringe on top. And I was like, that's a Surrey. And then I don't know, only because of Oklahoma.
Oh, you're a theater kid for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, but the point is that I'm using coach and carriage interchangeably, and it's probably
and it sounds like
fine.
It's a stupid technicality that doesn't really matter.
It's probably fine. But no, I was writing and I was like, I've said coach, I've said carriage. What? Let me look into this a little bit more.
I didn't know that, so that's interesting.
But it is called the Gold State Coach, but then they even on the Royal UK website, they reference it as a carriage as well. So
I'm just visualizing the coach logo for the purses, and it's covered. It's like a covered carriage, you know? So that's where I'm thinking of it.
Well, and there are links to pictures of all of these things on the website too. And maybe we'll post something that shows some pictures. That would actually be some cool stuff.
We should do more of that stuff of like, here's a little thing that we talked about in this episode, and here's it's fun.
Learn about this image of this cool thing that you might want to write in.
Did you know the difference between carriages and coaches? Tune in this week.
Did you want to know the difference between carriages and coaches? We're sorry. So yeah, Victoria was in the carriage coach. She was looking around at her subjects. They were smiling and waving and shouting and perched on top of each other's shoulders. She was ecstatic to look about and see everyone there for her. 8 gray horses pulled the carriage, and things were going well until it stalled at Whitehall. While stalled, Victoria observed some policemen being a little bit brutal because people were so excited and also so drunk. there was a specific woman that she noticed who was described to have like bare shoulders and her hair loose from dancing. And, you know, this is the early to mid 1800s. It was a little scandalous.
Like a gypsy.
She got a little drunk and like her stuff kind of started falling out. She kept shouting the word coronation every time they tried to grab a hold of her. So I just picture this woman like, you know, you've seen your drunk friends. Coronation.
Dude, look at any town after their NBA team wins.
Yes,
that is
yes.
exactly what this is drunk fools going, champions!
Champions! Yeah. Go Birds! Like,
Go Birds! It's gotta be them.
yeah, so coronation. Anyway, they kept trying to have to grab hold of her. It was quoted about the day, there are more drunk women here than drunk men, probably because it was a queen and not a king.
Hey, that's actually kind of rad.
Yeah, it's kind of rad. And it is incredible how much whiskey they can swallow. And their hearts were in their voices. So they were just
Love
like, it was like girl power.
Stoked,
like,
man.
Yeah, it was
Heck
pretty
yeah.
cool. Pretty cool. So at noon, almost 2 hours after she started her journey, Victoria arrived at Westminster Abbey. The abbey was decorated with crimson and gold tapestries, the pews in velvet, the altar was surrounded by purple drapes with gold, and there were brilliant oriental rugs everywhere.
Cool.
Just a good image. And there's some paintings of the coronation. There's not actual photographs because it was too long ago, but the paintings, it was pretty colorful and beautiful.
Sure.
I have to quote Harriet Martineau, who is considered to be the first female sociologist. And Queen Victoria had found her so interesting that she invited her to her coronation, which was, you know, that's a big ticket invitation.
Very.
Martineau was not a fan of religion, abbeys, queens, anything like that, but was impressed and wrote, I have never before seen the full effect of diamonds. As the light traveled, each piece shone like a rainbow. The brightness, vastness, and dreamy magnificence of the scene produced a strange effect of exhaustion and sleepiness.
Wow.
But just think about, I mean, you know, you look at a diamond and it's in the sun and it's like a tiny little like, but there were a lot in that room and it was just like kind of that, it's almost like when you watch a movie and they try to make it like a dream sequence.
Totally.
Like that's kind of what I'm seeing.
I'm almost thinking of like a disco ball in the room, but not quite.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I mean?
not
There's so much
not so
reflection.
choppy, but like a little more like ethereal.
Totally. Is this also, this is just from the mass of people that all are collectively
everybody's
wearing
wearing
jewels?
stuff. Well,
Okay.
and okay, so here's an example of somebody wearing stuff. First of all, the Russian ambassador was there. He was clothed in white fur, but that doesn't give us diamond sparkle. But the Prince of Austria was there, and he wore a suit made entirely of pearls and diamonds.
No.
Accessorized by boots encrusted with diamonds. So like that guy was like,
holy
"Woo-hoo."
shit.
Yeah.
That's
So those
that's
are some-
quite the.
I mean, those are some examples of the fashion of the day.
So I don't want to segue on this very hard, but in the Tim and Eric movie back in the day, they make in the movie, okay, they make a fake movie with a fake Johnny Depp, and it's called Diamond Jim. It's really silly and really obscure.
We need to like make a list of all of the movies we have cited in this, and that's everyone's homework. Just go watch all of these ridiculous movies that are totally unrelated.
In it, the whole movie, which by the way lasts about 2 minutes, their whole movie they made is.
Oh, I like that.
Exactly. Well, the movie is longer, but in the movie, it's about them making a movie, and the movie that they make is 2 minutes long, and it's called Diamond Jim, and it's with a fake Johnny Depp, and his whole thing is he wears a suit that is like a business suit, but it is woven with diamonds. And they decided they wanted to be authentic, so they made a suit out of real diamonds, and that was what chewed up their entire budget, which is why they could only make a 2-minute movie.
Okay.
I told you, it's Tim and Eric. If you know who Tim and Eric are, they're just like so obscure and so weird, and they're great.
We just need to add it to our list of films to watch.
Sure.
All right. So Victoria entered the Abbey and an anthem was played. She was followed by 8 train bearers, all unmarried girls who wore silver and had white and pink roses in their hair. Lord Melbourne, her first prime minister, walked ahead of her carrying the sword of state. Apparently, he was drunk off of brandy and had to take the edge off of an upset stomach, so he had a little laudanum too.
Like you do.
Our favorite drug of then. Melbourne was described by another future prime minister, Benjamin Disraeli, as, quote, very awkward and uncouth, with his great coronet cocked over his nose, his robes under his feet, and holding the great sword of state like a butcher. So Melbourne's a little drunksy at the little party.
Yeah. Little hard in the pint there, buddy.
Yeah, and he's kind of like in the middle of all of it, so lots of people notice.
But it's the prime minister. I think that's what I think is so funny about it, is that he's like, let me take some opium/morphine and then get drunk on brandy during the coronation. It's like, that's a bad look,
my
man.
stomach was upset. What am I supposed to do? They didn't have Pepto.
I need to get wasted.
And then I won't even remember that I'm awkward. So the ceremony lasted 5 hours. Apparently, there hadn't been a rehearsal, so not everything went very smoothly. The person who knew how everything should go, the Dean of Westminster, was too sick to attend, and he didn't really have an understudy.
Gosh.
So no one really knew what to do. For example, a special ruby coronation ring had been made for Victoria's pinky, but someone forced it onto her fourth finger instead. She had to soak it in ice water for 30 minutes later that evening just to get it off.
Oh.
I can't even, the size of my fingers, I don't think I could get a ring for my pinky on my...
No, I'm trying to imagine somebody forcing that onto my other fingers, and it is painful in my brain right now.
Well, and she's trying to be
Cool
calm,
about
and
it.
collected. I mean, you think no one can hear. It's not like there's microphones. She could have been like, wrong finger.
Totally, right? Like, hey, it's on the pinky, guy.
I don't know. 41 Tower cannons were fired. I mentioned a future prime minister was there, Benjamin Disraeli, but another future prime minister was also there. It was 7-year-old Lord Salisbury. It just makes me think of Salisbury steak.
Me too.
Well, and then we've talked about the Duke of Wellington, and I'm like, beef Wellington? Anyway, Lord Salisbury, so many good foods.
So Salisbury and Melbourne, and not Melbourne, and Wellington got together, and we had a great meal.
Yep. So Lord Salisbury was 7 years old, and at the time he was known as Lord Robert Cecil, because his father was Lord Salisbury.
They hadn't gotten to the steak yet, so...
He was there as his father's page and was bored with watching Queen Victoria because he was 7.
Sure.
Despite the fact that several decades later, she would actually appoint him prime minister.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of people that are up there in the social ranks and stuff at this thing.
That's
So it's
cool.
not unreasonable that future prime ministers would be there.
Totally.
Okay, onto her crown. This was specially made for her, partially because the crown that was used normally weighed 5 pounds, and they wanted a lighter one for Victoria's dainty woman head.
Of course, even though they looked at her and were like, she can handle a 5-pound crown.
Yeah, but they were like, her head is so dainty. She's a woman. The book said that the crown was valued at roughly 12.5 million pounds in today's dollars. This specific crown was damaged in an accident. Now, here's where I'm saying royally screwed up.
Okay.
Somebody was carrying it on a pillow a few years later. Like, you see crowns carried on pillows. Yeah. And it just kind of fell off the pillow. And can you just imagine being that guy? Like, I dropped the crown.
So this is a true story. When I used to wait tables at Outback Steakhouse, I spilled a beer on a baby one time. And I can imagine this guy probably felt the same way, which was just like, cool, yeah, kill me now. I just want to die. I don't want to exist anymore. When you spill a beer on a baby, there's not much you can say or do. You're just like, I.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those sorts of moments in your life, they're like canon moments.
Oh man, it is definitely haunted my 12 o'clock mind sometimes, where it's just like, remember that time you spilled a beer on a baby?
Like, how old is that baby now, do you think?
So I was probably 19, so that baby's probably like 14 years old at this point. You know what I mean? It's in high school, and I'm still sitting here going, dude, I spilled a beer on you one time.
And that kid that's 14 is like, man, I love the smell of beer when I go to Golden Corral.
If that kid became an alcoholic because I spilled a beer on it as a baby,
I don't think that's what happened.
I can't imagine.
I don't think that's what happened, but maybe. See, it's just the rippling effects of our paths crossing over time.
I'd imagine this guy that dropped the crown probably felt the exact same way. It was like 20 years later, he would shoot up at night and be like, "You dropped the crown that time."
No,
Like,
I'm sure that, like, you know, every time he was ever in a meeting with anybody, they'd be like, "Hey, so remember the time you dropped the crown?"
or he brings up a good idea and they go, yeah, aren't you the guy that dropped the crown?
Yeah.
And he's like, damn it, this was a good tax initiative. Haunting my life.
Well, Victoria said about the crown that it looked like a pudding that had fallen down after it dropped, like a souffle, like bloop.
Yeah.
They did end up repairing it. Apparently it cost £150 to repair it. So I don't know. I didn't do the math on what that is in today's dollars, but
I'm sure
they did
it
repair
really
it.
hurt the royal family.
Yeah, it was devastating to the bank.
Yep.
No, but they did use it for a long time. But then later in the early 1930s, whichever king at the time, I can't remember which one it was, he commissioned another new crown for that same purpose. But anyway, it was I feel really bad for that guy. It didn't happen in the coronation though. That would have been worse.
That would have been really bad.
It was later. It was like one random parliament session.
Sure.
Anyway, back to the coronation. Victoria is sitting on the coronation chair, which is known as St. Edward's chair or King Edward's chair. And this is King St. Edward of like 1296.
They made a saint out of one of their kings?
I think he was the king and then maybe they sainted him later. I don't know.
Okay.
So at this time, the chair was more than 500 years old. And it was most recently used in modern times in Charles's coronation. So if you look at pictures, you see the same chair that she sat on in his coronation. The chair itself, I don't want to go too far into this because it's just a good read. You could go read the Wikipedia page and get a lot of fun information about it. But It's got a crazy history. It was commissioned to hold this sandstone stone of destiny, or also known as the Stone of Scone, which was a Scottish stone that all the Scottish kings for a long time before 1296 used when they were crowned. So it was this kind of
So
about
like the
the size
English
of a bread
took the
box.
stone from the Scottish?
Yes, they took the stone, which
I cannot
wasn't
imagine
cool.
people were happy with that.
Wasn't cool. They took the stone, and then it was brought to England, and then they made this chair to hold the stone so that the kings of England could sit on this magical, mythical sandstone for coronations.
And seemingly symbolically control Scotland via that.
I mean, Scotland is still part of the UK, so yeah, it was definitely a jerky move. Since then, the stone has been through a lot. World War II, they were worried it was going to get bombed, so it got moved. It's only left the abbey, or the chair has only left the abbey twice since it was made in the 1300 or whatever. The stone was stolen once by some students, and then a couple months later it appeared like 500 miles away, and then they brought it back. And there's just a lot. People would go and see the coronation chair, like tourists, and they'd pay like a shilling or something to touch it.
Okay.
But then people would like pick parts off of it. There was apparently like mosaic inlaid on it, and all those pieces are gone. So it's definitely really, really kind of beat up.
Yeah.
And also these students at Westminster would break in there and they'd carve their names in it. So if you see a picture, you'll see like
I think
graffiti.
I read something about this. Isn't there like a secret passage that goes from the abbey to the school or something?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those like you're a student and you got to know, and then it's like probably an initiation.
It honestly
sort of thing.
feels like Hogwarts. And
Yeah, I know
love
it does. It does.
I love it, dude. You got a secret passage that goes to the throne room, and you get to carve
Absolutely.
your name in.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's not great that they keep damaging it, but
Well, no, I don't think I do it anymore, right? Because it's closed off.
yeah, it's in Westminster Abbey, and it
I think
stays,
the passage is closed off though. I think they closed it off in like the 80s. I think I read.
That sounds probably right. It's being protected better than it had before. And they've also gone through some restoration projects with it. And I read too that, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, they had the coronation chair in Westminster Abbey, and these people that came that are, experts in restoring such things, they did it like on display. So you could go watch them while they were restoring it.
That's
So
pretty cool.
kind of like when you go to the museum and you see them like cleaning the bones of the dinosaur bones,
Totally.
like through a little. So that was pretty cool. And then I think that this year even they did a little bit more of that in preparation for Charles's coronation. So I thought that was cool though.
That is really cool.
Sitting on that chair was It's spanned like 8 centuries.
Totally.
Oh, and it's the oldest piece of furniture known where they know the artist who made it.
Wow.
So they have furniture that is older than this.
But unknown maker.
But yeah, they don't know who. So
That's really interesting.
I thought there was a lot of cool stuff about that. So she's sitting on it.
Also, can I just say that at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, you can go and watch the people do the dinosaur bone.
Well, that's why I thought of
stuff,
saying
and it's
that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So cool. And the last time that maybe not last time, but the time before, it was they had the windows open.
Ooh.
So you could actually talk to the people.
Oh, cool.
So I was
Could
literally
you smell the dust?
Yeah. And I literally was talking to the guy. I said, I was like, what is this that you're working on over here? And he was like, this is a Triceratops head. And he was literally taking the extra dirt and grit or whatever off of the Triceratops head. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever.
You know I love dinosaurs.
I know you do.
You know that my wedding ring has dinosaur fossil
not
bone
know that.
inlaid in it.
I did not know
and
that.
And Aaron's does too.
But we never went to the Jurassic World thing.
I know.
We should have done that.
Because we forgot about it. Anyway, something else will come around. But yeah, we got our rings from Manly Bands.
Manly Bands.
And then they have a sister company called like Rosie Bands or something. Anyway, but yeah, I have a rose gold ring and it's just got a inlay in the center. It's just little tiny chips of fossilized dinosaur bone. But it's so small they can't do anything with it.
Right.
And so they just buy it and then they put it in and they put epoxy over the top.
Totally.
They also do things like antlers and meteorites and things like that. But that's what we got.
That's super cool. I love it.
We digress as usual. How many times do we digress?
Always.
As many times as we can.
I try not to do too much digression because I know a lot of other podcasts do it. So let's just get back to it.
Well, we are. Here we go. So she's sitting in the coronation chair and she's wearing her, I like these words, super tunica and dalmatica on the coronation chair. It's basically the guard, like the big cloaks that they put on over, and then they're really adorned in these like fancy things.
I'm thinking of, if you remember the Disney Robin Hood movie, The King, the Lion King, and he's got that crazy red like robe jacket thing that drapes all the way to the ground. That's what I'm thinking
It's a similar thing, and you'll see pictures of it on the website too. Like it's long and gold. So there was 2 pieces, the super tunica and the dalmatica. I think the dalmatica is one of them is no longer around.
Okay.
One of them is still on display in Buckingham Palace. It's kind of sad because you'd think like something like this would just be held on to, but I don't know what happened to it. I couldn't come across
lost in
that
history
information.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And World War II also just did so much damage to London that you know, I can only imagine things just got lost or mixed up or, quite frankly, stolen.
Yeah. There's definitely portraits of her in it though, so we can see what it looked like, and it's pretty cool. It was the custom for the monarch to have 600 guys that were important walk by, touch the crown, and kiss the cheek. But because she was so young, they thought that would be like inappropriate, so they all kissed her hand instead. So she, like 3,000 kisses before and 600 a day. She's got a lot of kisses.
A lot of kisses.
Lord Rolle, Rolle, he was one of these men. And he was a little bit elderly. So he was going up to give his hand kiss and he fell and rolled down the stairs. Lord Rolle rolled. Some people like rushed to help him up, and he was kind of trying to go back up to Victoria, but she stood up and she walked down to him to make sure that he wasn't hurt, and she stretched out her hand so he could kiss it without further subjecting him to, plummeting down the stairs.
So sweet.
And yes, people loved it too. They were like, "Oh, that's so graceful of her," and like gracious. Now, the next step was for Victoria to receive the sacrament, which, taking the blood and the whatever.
Some people call it communion.
Yes, communion.
By the way.
As if on cue, a ray of sunlight illuminated her head through a window.
Oh.
It was like God himself was there. Remember how the only bishops that knew what was supposed to be happening weren't there?
Yes.
And no one had rehearsed?
Yes.
Another bishop that was there, he skipped a page in the ceremony and apparently like prematurely ended the ceremony. It was like, it's over. I think they like realized and like actually finished it. But
did a whoopsie-daisy?
Yeah. If you read about Queen Victoria's coronation, they basically say it was a botched coronation. So like, nothing terrible happened. Like, it wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
But definitely some things went wrong. So her anxiety the night before, like, maybe was a little bit reasonable.
Sure. Also, if I knew that I was going to get kissed by 3,600 strangers the next day, I can't imagine I would just be, like, jazzed.
People are the worst.
Well, it's a bunch of, like, it's not even just, I would almost be more okay if it was just regular people, but this is a bunch of, like, let's be honest, ass-kissing, hoity-toity, royal, you know.
I just think that even if I'm wearing gloves, people have hot hands, and then that hot handness, and you're just like,
oh, and not only that, but this is before the days of like running water, so like washing your hands
people
wasn't
are
going to
not
be like
smelling good.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is in the days where like there were shoes that were invented for women, like more or less high heels, but way sturdier, and it was because the streets were so filled with crap that you couldn't walk on them, so they would wear these like high, like hoof-looking shoes, basically,
To just walk
to
above.
walk above the muck.
Yuck.
And so, like, if that is the standard of where we are currently, yeah, no. I don't think I want 3,000 of you coming over to me and grabbing my hand and kissing it and touching my head and stuff. Like, that just sounds pretty bad.
I mean, yeah, I think things could be better. Well, that's all about what's happening on the inside.
Yeah.
Outside, the crowds were cheering, the party was going strong, and there was one man named Tom Flower. He was trying to force his way inside so that he could ask for Victoria's hand in marriage.
Oh, boy.
He was not the first guy that was shooting a shot with Victoria. One man had already been committed for stalking. Another was arrested for trying to break into the royal chapel.
Oh, man.
When asked why he thought he could propose to Victoria, that man said, "Profession or business has nothing to do with the question. I am merely a candidate for the hand of Her Majesty."
Oh.
Just, pretty cocky.
I was going to say, he's got a very high opinion of himself.
But unfortunately for him, he'd already been in a bit of trouble with the law for disturbing the peace and trying to get into Victoria's opera box.
Oh, my gosh.
So he was kind of declared insane and kind of sent to the loony bin.
Yeah.
Where he might get some laudanum. So Victoria heads back to Buckingham Palace after the coronation. She's passing women, waving scented handkerchiefs and cheering. She's tired but relieved. At that point, probably kind of like people clean their house when they're nervous, she arrived home and gave her dog Dash a bath.
No.
Her diary entry said of the day that she would ever remember this day as the proudest of my life, but that the imperial state crown hurt me a great deal.
Yeah.
So they made her a special crown and it was still uncomfortable.
Oof. Jeez.
So coronation is over. The next day, Lord Melbourne was hungover.
Shocking.
Remember, he'd had a bit of brandy and laudanum the day before.
Dude was on a bender the day before.
He didn't get back to work or to see Victoria for about a week, which made her quite cross, in quotes, because she'd been used to seeing Melbourne every day. But who was Lord Melbourne?
Yes.
He was born William Lamb, L-A-M-B, like the adorable animal, and upon the death of his father became Lord Melbourne. He was the prime minister when Victoria ascended to the throne. She had both a crush on him and a fatherly admiration for him. Because remember, she'd lost her father at a young age. Now, Melbourne was older than Victoria, 40 years older to be exact. Lord Melbourne was described as handsome. At this point, he was a widower. Say that 5 times fast. Lord Melbourne was handsome and a widower. But his life was not free from scandal. His late wife, Lady Caroline Lamb, yes, another Caroline, had been unfaithful, and it had become public knowledge. In addition to this, he had experienced tremendous loss. Caroline had experienced 2 miscarriages, a stillbirth, and then finally had a son. His name was George Augustus Frederick, but George Augustus had been mentally disabled and was epileptic.
So these folks really took advantage of that baby insurance we were talking about.
I hope so.
Which is still the saddest.
I know, the
one.
saddest. George Augustus died just before Victoria's ascension, about a year before. So
Okay.
Melbourne has a new queen, and he's just lost his son. So
So the one that had like epileptic, he passed.
he passed too.
Ugh. Dang.
I think it was like he was like 18 or so. He wasn't very old.
Oh man.
Lord Melbourne was a member of the Whig Party.
Mm-hmm.
He was well educated. He'd gone to Eton College, which is a boarding school that's a high school, not college.
I know of Eton College, and little baby spoilers at my next subject went to Eton College.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
It was a boarding school that's actually a high school, not a postgraduate, as you know, the word college implies. There were 20 prime ministers to date that have gone to school at Eton College.
Wow.
Some notable alumni in general include the likes of Prime Minister Boris Johnson, one of more recent.
He went to Eton.
Mhm.
I didn't know that.
George Orwell, Ian Fleming, Adrian Cadbury, yes, of the Eggs,
Interesting.
Hugh Laurie, the actor from House,
Oh.
Tom Hiddleston, who plays Loki in the Marvel Universe,
and is also a very handsome man.
And of course, Princes William and Harry.
No shite. I don't want to swear too much on this podcast, but that is crazy. I did not know that.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
another fun one, actor Eddie Redmayne, who
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
seen-
yeah.
he was in the Theory of Everything.
And the Danish girl?
Yeah, he was in
Is
a
that
lot
what
of
it's
in a lot
called?
of
Yeah,
stuff.
he's great. And also the Beasts, the Fantastic Beasts.
Yes. He went there, and apparently he was friends with Prince William. There's like a picture you can see where they're
Whoa.
like in the picture together.
That's pretty cool.
So I don't know what the admission rate was in the 1800s, but my research today says that there are 1,300 applicants each year for 120 spots.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Pretty
Exclusive little club.
yeah. So I mentioned that Lord Melbourne was a Whig. The other party is the Tories. I'm sure you remember the Whigs and the Tories. The Whigs are the Conservative Party.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay.
At the time of Victoria's ascension, it was Melbourne's second time as prime minister. This happens. Apparently, people will be prime minister and then not be, and then be it again. And
Isn't
it's
that kind of what happened with Boris Johnson?
I don't remember if it was with
I don't
him,
know
but
that sequence of
it
events.
it happens apparently because it's really like they kind of just have people that are in parliament and then they'll choose someone to be the prime minister that are in It's not like you run for president. It's like you're in parliament and then you get voted up into being
the prime minister.
the prime minister.
Interesting.
Like, so it's different.
I
from
have
what
to
I would
admit, as an
expect.
American, I have almost no concept as to how British Parliament really works.
I'm learning a little
I need
bit.
to learn more.
Yeah, I do too, and I did a little bit of research here. I mean, I just picture a room full of guys shouting and like waving papers and wearing
I've
wigs.
seen it, and I still am like, guys, you gotta stop with the wig thing. It is so weird. You all look like a bunch of goobers. I'm just saying.
I mean, I guess it's kind of cool, like, you know, like it's traditional, like you wear your robe when you're a judge and you have your gavel and stuff.
yes, but like the wig is such a relic of a very specific time in history that it's like, it seems like one of those traditions. It's just like, guys, by the 50s, I don't know why you didn't just go, do we really have to wear these wigs anymore? Like, this is like,
Okay.
come on, I just want to talk to you about government. Don't make me put on a costume and a wig and makeup. It's like,
You're making me think of this video I saw the other day. You know, George Washington had that white floof hair.
yeah, which wasn't that was a wig too, right?
I think it was a wig.
Yeah.
And so remember when you were a boy, so this wouldn't have been a thing for you, but girls in the pool, you flip your head over and you lift your head up where your hair is in front of your face.
Okay.
And then you flip your hair back and you make this George Washington
Okay.
wig thing. And I was just thinking of that as I was reading this. Made me chuckle. Okay, so Melbourne was a Whig, conservative, and at the time of Victoria's ascension, it was his second time as prime minister. And this was really only because he was, quote, the least offensive candidate.
I mean, feels very modern.
Mm-hmm. He was rather conflict avoidant, and while he was very well educated, he didn't actually care much about politics.
Mm.
But he kind of was born into, this was like the family business kind of, you
Right.
just go into Parliament. The day of his first speech in the House of Commons back in 1806, his wife Caroline snuck in dressed in a man's clothes so that
Whoa.
she could hear. She was like, my husband's at work. I want to get in there and women aren't allowed.
kinda
So
cool.
she dressed up as a man. But her mother-in-law was like totally offended. She was like, I can't believe she's doing this. It's so appropriate and all.
Of course.
And I also chuckle about like when people disguise themselves, like women disguising themselves as men back in the day. It's like, it seems like it would be kind of hard to do that,
agree.
but it works really well in cartoons. So maybe it works well in olden times when,
Because I'm imagining, like, as a guy, right? And especially at that point in time where 99, I'm assuming 0.99% of men did not have long hair, right? And I'm imagining a woman trying to make herself look like a man. She would probably have to take her hair and put it up in a bun or something.
she puts
and
one
then,
of those wigs on.
And then, you think it was a wig? I was thinking of it as a hat.
No, because I bet if she's going to this, she's
She was
trying to look the
dressing up
part,
like
she
an
probably
MP?
just put a wig on.
Oh, maybe you're right.
I mean-
if she put on one of those old geezer wigs, then, I mean, it's all bets are off because you all look weird in those things.
Yeah, everybody
so-
looks the same. And I was thinking too, like, it's not like people had like all the makeup and mascara and stuff. Like, I feel like you could.
They did have makeup, but it was weird makeup.
Yeah, it was weird makeup. You could probably anyway. I just thought it was funny.
That
and
is.
her mother-in-law was oh my gosh.
Well, I can only imagine for the day.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of her mother-in-law, Lord Melbourne's family had kind of been worried about Caroline generally. She was unstable. But like so many people who are young and in love, Lord Melbourne ignored his family and married Caroline Lamb anyway. A few years into the marriage between Caroline and William, he began receiving letters telling him of her infidelity.
Oof.
The funny part was she was not even described as like a super hottie, but she was really clever and kind of charismatic. So I guess she was able to kind of hook up with some folks.
Sure.
She was a writer, and one of her most famous lovers was also a writer, Lord Byron.
Lord Byron.
Mhm.
Oh, the poet.
Mm-hmm. Movies have been made and books have been written about her. Caroline and Lord Byron wrote tons of letters to each other,
Wow.
as was customary in the time, and they were writers. Once, Caroline mailed a lock of her pubic hair to him with a note that said, quote, I cut the hair too close and bled more than you need.
Gah.
The note and the hair apparently are in the British Library archives.
Oh my gosh. With the pubes.
Yikes.
Could you? Okay, I'm just thinking about a museum curator having to be like, could you prepare the pubes?
The bloody pubes.
Oh God.
Or are you saying like the bloody pubes?
The bloody pubes.
The bloody pubes.
Gosh.
My British accent is not good. I should pick someone without an accent. Anyway,
By the way, I think at some point one of us should do Lord Byron as a
that would
subject
maybe-
because I keep hearing about him and I know almost nothing about him.
yeah, I know you're. I mean, it's like I knew the name.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I didn't get too far into it because I have digressed so much off of the actual subject, which is Queen Victoria.
I love it.
You know how it is.
I love it.
It's like squirrel. Anyway, so needless to say, Caroline was passionate. You know, pube chopping. After a few months into this affair, Lord Byron was kind of getting over it.
After the pube incident, he was like, "Oh, this lady's a little too much for me."
It makes me think of that show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Anyway.
Oh, totally.
So he was talking to another woman at a ball, and Caroline saw. So she crushed the glass that she was holding, like,
In her hand?
in her hand, and then she cut her arms. So because of this, she was sent away to a country estate, and her prescription, because they didn't have antidepressants or anxiety or, you know, all the things back then, it was a bottle of sherry a day.
Oh my God.
I was surprised it wasn't laudanum.
I was waiting for you to say it, to be honest with you. Caroline sounds like she's got the crazy eyes.
She's got little crazy eyes. The book goes on to say that she would break furniture, she would get drunk, stoned on opium, and then she would go out in public, like partially naked.
Oh my gosh.
Lord Melbourne went gray at age 36 because of this, according to the notes. And it was affecting his career, but he never filed for divorce. So he was dedicated, I guess.
Yeah, or something.
Well, that takes me to the next part, which I found pretty interesting. We think about marriage at this time in particular as like it's religious, and like if a woman gets pregnant but doesn't have a husband, like what is she gonna do?
Right.
She's labeled a whore, like she has limited opportunities, whatever. But marriage was like a necessity because it was a practical contract so that a male heir could be produced.
Right.
So it was like, we're going to get married. You're going to produce an heir. Affairs were pretty common because of this. It was this agreement.
Right.
It wasn't a love marriage.
Right.
Lord Melbourne's own mother was an example of this. He said in a quote, she was a remarkable woman, a devoted mother, an excellent wife, but not chaste. Not chaste.
He repeated himself. Wow.
In fact, Lord Melbourne's mother had many children with many men, and it was widely known that Melbourne himself was not his father's son, but rather he was the son of one of his mother's lovers, Lord Egremont.
Egremont.
But I guess he still got the title of Lord Melbourne, even though he was a bastard, I guess.
Wow.
That being said, this level of openness that Caroline was putting out there was still a bit shocking, even though it was like kind of common. You didn't talk about it, let's say. She wrote a book, Caroline, his crazy wife, wrote a book that, though it was said to be fiction, was basically the true story of her own infidelity.
Wow.
And it was a bestseller.
Oh my gosh.
Called Glenarvan. It has 3 volumes. Links to all 3 volumes in their entirety are on our website.
Wow.
And I started reading the first one. I didn't have time. I read like the first page. But it's actually kind of good.
Okay.
I mean, the writing is definitely like 1800s. I think it's set in Ireland. I don't know. I was interested in the first. She's a good writer.
I'm not sure if you remember this, but it reminds me from the Mabel Dodge series, her friend, it was Hutch Hapgood and his wife, Neith Boyce.
Uh-huh.
And Neith Boyce was, it seems like Caroline. She was like, hey, I'm this is who we are, so I'm going to go find love in the places that I want to find it. And that was sort of their agreed, but it was a little more progressive, it seemed like, right? It was, in that instance, they were sort of like, in it together, so to speak, but it just reminded me of that same situation. It's interesting. I
think that it was, he could see why it was happening. His mother, he couldn't, he who casts stone, don't
let
judge.
He who is without sin cast the first stone.
Yeah. So like his mom was basically his wife, like same behavior. So like, what was he going to do?
Sure.
So he didn't take any lovers while Caroline was alive. But she did die of dropsy, which is what they call edema these days.
Okay.
So like fluid in the body.
Oof.
That disease was said to have been accelerated by her use of drugs and alcohol. So she died in 1828 at the age of 42.
Oh, man.
So he's had a lot happen.
A lot. Was that 4 children and 1 wife?
Yeah. I mean, for one child that made it past childbirth, but still, like, a lot.
I mean,
yeah.
ask any person out there who's gone through similar experiences, and they're going to be like, that was one of my kids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not some, like, oops-a-doopsie, do-over. It's just like, that's not how it works,
It was not good. So he had a lot going on there. He was born into some privilege, but like there's definitely some stuff that screws you up when you know that your father's not your father.
Yeah, dude.
Like there's a lot going on. So after Caroline died, Melbourne did take some lovers. They were some aristocratic women. You're in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
2 of these women were married, and their husbands were given political favors.
Oh.
But that didn't end well for him. Both men ended up suing Lord Melbourne.
course.
And the trials outlined his penchant for whipping women
Oh my gosh.
because it turns out he was in favor of corporal punishment.
For his lovers?
Mhm.
Okay.
Probably from his days at Eton. Now, I do wonder,
Yes.
was this like abuse whipping or was this like modern day dominatrix type whipping?
If it was, if you are right in that it was from Eton, and gosh, it's like I'm like people that know who I'm actually researching gonna be like, dude, I know who you're talking about right now. But I'm as I've gone through this other bit of research, and I won't give away too much of it or whatever. Eton administered whippings with a switch, so like a very thin piece of wood branch, basically, literally every day at noon.
I did read, and I didn't put it in here, but if I'm remembering correctly, or 75% correct, he actually only got like 2 punishments in his entire time he was at Eton.
Then that's
like he was
rare.
super well behaved, but
The other thing, though, about Eton is that it's all of the students. It's not a true boarding school, and it's not a centralized boarding school. There are offshoot buildings, and each of those offshoot buildings are governed by different people. So
Oh.
each of those people can have their own sense of corporal punishment on a day-to-day basis. So if it
it's
is
almost like dorms run by different people, kind of.
exactly, but much
You
worse
could get
in
in
these
the
days.
good dorm or the really belly.
And at Eton,
whippy,
most of
switchy.
them were the bad dorms because it was very much considered a preparatory school.
Yeah.
So the person that I'm trying to not talk about too much right now, that was very much their experience. Was it wasn't just the school; it was the like household leaders that
Yeah.
were really sadistic. So I'd wonder if that was the case for Melbourne as well.
I wonder if it was the case for, Tom Hiddleston.
I
Or
would
Hugh
imagine a lot
Laurie.
of that stuff has gone away by
Probably
this
with
point.
time, but
but around 1800s, turn of the century and stuff like that, I'm sure it was
yeah,
way worse.
definitely still occurring.
Yeah.
So he was sued by these husbands of these women he'd been having affairs with. He enjoyed spanking women and girls. That was kind of it. Grossly, there was an orphan child he moved into his house for the purpose of spanking. So like, yikes. Like really, really bad.
There was a second that I was like, hey, a little baby. And then a
Nope.
kid gets into it and like, nope, I'm
orphan
out.
child.
We're out.
He also spanked these aristocratic women. One of them was another Caroline.
Good
It's like
Lord.
so many Carolines. Her name was Caroline Norton. And her husband, who was suing Lord Melbourne, actually was an abusive husband. And,
I'm not kidding. I went to elementary school with a girl named Caroline Norton, but keep going.
well, this is maybe her reincarnate or
Seriously.
something. To be clear, Lord Melbourne denied and was acquitted of all of these allegations.
Cool.
So he
Oh,
never
I
was
guess maybe cool?
convicted.
I
Like
don't know.
they said these things were happening, but they never said yes. He never was found guilty of any of this.
Maybe not cool that he got off on all of that.
Or maybe some of it was rumor.
Hey, I hope it was rumor. If it was not and he got off scot-free or whatever, boo.
I don't know. I think a lot of people didn't like Lord Melbourne, and I don't know how much of it was self-brought or just didn't like him.
Sure.
I'm not really sure. I mean, he was a political guy, and there's competing parties. Like I don't know for sure.
Sure.
But after the trial, he told Caroline, just go back to your abusive husband and give up seeking custody of your kids. Like she was trying to divorce him and get custody, which
Yeah.
she couldn't do back then. It was not cool. So I guess all of that inspired her and kind of gave her some wind in her sails because she ultimately worked to get a law passed in 1839 that allowed women to seek custody of children under age 7 in the case
Whoa.
of divorce.
That's cool.
So like all this terrible stuff happened to this woman, but she rallied.
Hey, through adversity, she was like, hey, we got to get a law passed. This isn't fair. I love
this
it.
is not fair. It was really cool. And speaking of that, during this, Victoria was sympathetic to the bill. She thought it was a good bill to help these women. And Melbourne didn't show up to vote in favor for it. And so she was pissed at Lord Melbourne.
I would be too.
But even still, she still adored him. Like he
Yeah.
could do no wrong. She was mad at him, but she still was like, oh, Lord Melbourne, you're the best and the most wonderful advisor and everything.
I don't know if I agree with Victoria on that one.
Well, that
but,
was her. She was 19 years old and
little
she didn't
naive.
have many. All the people that had been there to help her, in quotes, over time really were trying to manipulate her. I don't think he was trying to manipulate her.
Yeah.
He just kind of like, well, you'll see some more. He just kind of was like, I told you, he wasn't very political. He didn't want conflict.
Right.
So he just kind of like agreed with her a lot and
Right.
made her feel good. I don't know.
He was just an advocate, seemingly.
Yeah, well, and it also could be because he agreed with Victoria about her mother, the Duchess. He said that he had never seen such a foolish woman as Victoria's mother. So Victoria leaned conservative, was a Whig, which was like Melbourne, and her father apparently leaned that way a little bit. He was her most trusted advisor. And he should have been advising her to consider that she was not the queen of just the Whigs, but the queen of all subjects. He misled her because he would dismiss like small uprisings as just little groups of disgruntled people. And he diminished some really very real political and social issues that were coming up. He misguided her into a false sense that everything's okay out there. He believed that children should work and that poverty was caused by the people who were impoverished.
Ah, yes.
Yes. You know, he was born into a very privileged family.
It's not, he is doing everything right. It's these poor people that are
these
messing
poor
everything
people,
up.
it's their
Gosh,
fault.
they just need to make more money for themselves. Boo them.
More on this. When Victoria read Charles Dickens and became interested in helping those who could not help themselves,
Right on.
Melbourne literally said, I do not like those things. I wish to avoid them. I do not like them in reality, and therefore I do not like to see them represented.
And by
Meaning, like, he doesn't like anything that she was reading in Dickens about poverty and stuff. She's like, I don't want to talk about I don't like seeing it. I don't want to, let's not talk about it.
I just think it's awesome that she was reading Dickens.
Yeah.
I think probably, I don't know the history of Dickens, but I can't imagine it was long after his death, if not it was when it was being published, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it was probably when it was being, we could Google it, but
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
But yeah, she put a lot of faith in this guy, and I've even got more on outsiders analyzing their relationship and how he misguided her.
Interesting.
But we'll get there in a minute. So it's about a year into her rule, and she's getting bored. Like, coronation happened, like that was a big thing to get ready for, and now she's kind of like, okay, now what? And she was gaining weight, which has always been a problem for her, a point of contention, stress. She generally disliked her appearance. One anecdote said that she wanted her eyebrows to be thicker, so she asked Lord Melbourne, her trusted advisor, if shaving them would make them grow back thicker. He luckily advised her against that, so he did something good there. She began to neglect brushing her teeth and bathing. She exercised less. She would lose her temper frequently. She was jealous when others would get Lord Melbourne's attention. And to be honest, in my reading all of this, she seemed depressed.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you do when you're depressed. You neglect yourself. You're combative. You don't move. Like, it's...
You lash out, you gain weight,
Yeah,
or lose weight. Or...
Yeah, it's just that she seemed depressed.
Yeah.
And she was also still young. She'd unfortunately put all of her trust in Lord Melbourne, and he was just conflict avoidant, and he wasn't the perfect guy that she had in her mind as her. Because remember, like, before she became queen, they were like, Conroy wants to be your private secretary, or we're going to get someone to be your advisor. And she's like, no, I want Lord Melbourne. And so that's what she had.
Yeah.
But again, she's like 20.
Jeez.
She's a child.
Yeah. And you said he was 40 years her
Yeah.
senior? Jeez.
Yeah. So, and I do remember when I was young, there would be like, I don't know, like a youth leader or like a camp counselor or someone where I'd be like, obviously there was never anything actually, I would have like a crush on them. Like, they're older and that's the kind of person I want in life later. Like, you kind of get this sort of young admiration, if that makes sense. I can see where she would get this.
I see what you're saying. The only examples for me that come to mind is like when I was at Boy Scout camp, and yes, there were like a couple of very attractive, camp counselors, but it was like the difference was I was 12 and they were 18.
Well, I know, but like when you're 12 and they're 18, it seems like you're 20 and they're 60. Like, I mean, the age, I don't
know.
I think that I was maybe like 14 and there were like 25-year-olds. And so like they were adults. They had cars. They were going out and hanging out. They were living on their own. And I was just like idealizing this life that they had and this wisdom I thought they had. Seeing the, I don't know. That's why it's not like it was a 60-year-old person, but I can see that when you're young and you're seeing someone older, more senior than you, that you perceive to have experience. I mean, remember how many times we think people know what they're doing and they don't?
True.
That was happening.
I guess I would say my example of this would be how I still feel about Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks is just like a witchy woman. She's put a spell on me since I was a boy.
Well, I mean, there is that.
She's magical.
She put a spell on everybody.
Dude, Stevie Nicks, man. It's Stevie Nicks.
It's Stevie Nicks.
She's smoke show.
I wish we could fade out with some Fleetwood Mac or something.
Oh, I know.
We don't have the rights.
I'm thinking of just like the white-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing, baby. Okay.
Okay, well, let's go on to Victoria's first scandal.
Yay!
The Lady Flora Hastings scandal. Ooh. And I'm going to warn you, it's a doozy and it's pretty sad.
Okay. Should we put a warning label for any younger listeners out there or anything? Is it not quite as heavy yet?
It's a PG to PG-13 scandal.
Okay. Well, parents, if you got kids with you, fair warning, maybe this is going to get a little not cool.
It's invasive.
Okay.
So, Lord Melbourne was a Whig, but it was because his family had been Whigs. He was kind of like conflict avoidant, as I've said, closed-minded, didn't really want to hear about things that weren't pleasant. Victoria, like her father, also leaned toward the conservative Whig party. And Melbourne just kind of like let that keep happening. He never reminded her or advised her that there was more than one party, that she was really supposed to be impartial. And on top of that, he continued to support Victoria's disdain for her mother and John Conroy, who was still lurking around at this point. I'll have a Conroy update in the next episode, but he was there.
And he's the shadow figure that we've been talking about over the past few episodes.
He was the jerk. Manipulating her mother. And
we made comparisons to the House of Dragons guy and stuff.
Yes. If I haven't described it well enough, Victoria and Melbourne had an incredibly close relationship that was so close that people nearby truly suspected that there might be some sort of affair or sexual experience happening there.
Okay.
In 1939, during a public appearance, Victoria appeared with Melbourne and somebody shouted from the crowd, "Mrs. Melbourne!"
In 1839, right?
1839. Whatever number I said is wrong. 1839.
You said 1939. I was like, was she still around then? That's crazy.
She's a witch. No, sorry. That's just reading numbers incorrectly. Thank you.
I just was making sure.
In 39 of the century.
It's tough. We're getting close to 39 of our own current century.
Stop that. Anyway, so they shouted Mrs. Melbourne, and Victoria believed that this was shouted by someone who was friends with this Lady Flora Hastings. Okay. Lady Flora was one of the Duchess, her mother, Victoria's mother, one of the Duchess's ladies in waiting.
Okay.
She had been for 5 years. She was from a powerful Tory family. At dinner one night, Victoria and Lazen noticed that Lady Flora's stomach was swollen.
Uh-oh.
This was in January, and she had just spent Christmas in Scotland with Victoria's mother and John Conroy. Now, remember Dr. Clark from 2 episodes ago when Victoria was so sick and he came in and prescribed... Dr. Clark is like a royal doctor.
Yes.
He's back.
Okay.
When Lady Flora returned from her trip to Scotland, she summoned Dr. Clark because she was having strange pains and a sore stomach. He prescribed some rhubarb pills and lotion. Okay. These tonics did not fix her stomach, but it did appear to stop getting any larger, so it kind of halted. Now, whether or not that was related to what he gave her or not is completely probably not correlation does not equal causation. But it hit her belly was swelled and then it kind of stopped swelling anymore. So If you see a woman with a bulging stomach, what are you going to think?
I was just going to ask you. I mean, I was saying, like, why would a baby stop growing in a tum-tum?
Well, if you see a woman with a bulging stomach, you're going to think she's pregnant.
That would be my... You don't say anything, but you kind of in your mind are like, I think she might be.
Well, Victoria said something. She confided her suspicions of Lady Flora's potentially out-of-wedlock pregnancy to Lord Melbourne. She told him, and Lord Melbourne kind of just dismissed her. So she didn't like that. So she calls up Dr. Clark, and she asks him to examine Lady Flora to see if she's pregnant. So Victoria's imagination is taken off, and she wrote in her diary on February 2nd. So this happened in like January, and then a couple weeks later, she said, "We have no doubt that she is, to use plain words, with child."
Wow.
Now, she's 20, so like she's a little catty.
A little sassy.
Yeah. Victoria thought, of course, that John Conroy was the father.
Sure.
Because he's the worst, right? So Dr. Clark comes along and makes things worse. I mean, let's face it, he kind of was like not the greatest doctor.
Yeah.
He spies on Lady Flora for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
He believed that if she were ill, she wouldn't be able to walk around and do everything else she was doing. So clearly the only possibility for having a distended stomach must be pregnancy.
That was how he diagnosed.
Yeah, he was like, well, she's not like laying around. She's doing things.
So he didn't even like physically examine her.
At that point, no. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
he tried to examine her and she refused. She wrote to her uncle, Lady Flora wrote to her uncle that she'd been persuaded by the conviction of the ladies of the palace that she'd been privately married. And they were like, you must have been married. Like, everybody's just coming at her. And she tried to explain that her stomach was no longer round. It actually had kind of gone down a little bit. But Dr. Clark still didn't believe her
Oh my gosh.
and insisted that she submit to an examination. So she finally agreed, partially because they're just accusing her
Yeah.
of having a baby that she's not, and she's like, no. So she finally agreed. And he calls in a second Dr. Clark. There's 2 Dr. Clarks. It's like,
Caroline's and Clark's.
Caroline's and Clark's, who also helped examine her. It was described as rough, prolonged, and painful.
The examination.
Mm-hmm. It was a gynecological examination.
Yeah, probably done rather barbarically by people that didn't understand what they were doing.
Yeah, I don't even know. Nonetheless, they gave her a certificate of virginity, so this should be good, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, this whole examination situation caused outrage among all the people in the know. At this point, Victoria, apologized to Lady Flora, but the scandal lingered on for months. The Hastings family, Flora's family, they wanted to restore her honor. They're like, hold up.
Yeah.
You guys really came at her, and we want justice for this. This is not okay. So if you remember, I mentioned before someone named Charles Greville, who's a member of the Privy Council. And by the way, the Privy Council is just a formal group of advisors to the sovereign. And they take a special oath.
Who are privy to information.
They are privy to information. So
I still think it's a committee for people that go after toilets.
Yes, there's that too. They have to take an oath to not talk about what happens in the bathroom.
Which I think is what all people do when they go into bathrooms publicly.
Yeah, it's just like an unspoken oath.
We don't talk about this.
Yes, so Charles Greville said, "It is inconceivable how Melbourne can have permitted this disgraceful and mischievous scandal, which cannot fail to lower the court in the eyes of the world, and from a participation in which discredits the Queen's youth and inexperience alone can exempt her." So basically, he's just like, this guy is supposed to have her interest in mind. He is not helping her. He's not guiding her. And the only thing, at least that's on her side, is she's young and inexperienced. So at least we can chalk it all up to that.
Sure.
But it was not good. Needless to say, this was all very bad. At one point, a proposed solution by Melbourne was to have Lady Flora married off. Just get her married off, then it won't be a problem anymore.
Of course.
Victoria wrote, "This made me laugh excessively, for I said Lady F neither had riches nor beauty nor anything." So she's getting mean. She's like, she's ugly and she's not rich. And then if you look at pictures of Lady Flora, she's actually very pretty. My perception is that Melbourne and Victoria were just gossip can just get mean, and you just get meaner. Next, Lady Flora's mother wrote a letter to Victoria via the Duchess, so like basically to Lady Flora's boss, the Duchess, asking her to ask Victoria to, quote, refute the slanders, like make a public statement.
Yeah.
And she said in her letter, to a female sovereign especially, women of all ranks in Britain look with confidence for protection and notwithstanding the difference of their rank, for sympathy.
Yeah.
She's saying, like, you're supposed to hold us up, not put us down.
Right.
Victoria had no response. So after a few weeks, the Hastings family took to the papers,
Oh my gosh.
sending an account of the whole ordeal to the newspaper The Examiner. At this point, everything's fully public and politicized because the Queen and the Prime Minister were Whigs and Lady Flora was a Tory and Victoria despised Conroy, and it was just like becoming this. It wasn't a political thing actually, but it became a political thing.
Right. They made it political, basically.
Yes. This part in Victoria's story is really disheartening because she stopped reading the newspapers and stated that the Hastings family and editors of the paper should all be hanged.
This is, so can I just say really quickly, I love hearing this because it is the exact same story that we have been hearing for probably every single year or decade since. I feel like this just happened. You know what I mean? With current political, I won't even go
it's
into
just like,
it.
don't read the paper, fake news.
Exactly. It's this sentiment of like, if something is happening that you don't like, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and
Yep.
pretend it's not happening. And so it's just very,
Literally what she was doing.
yeah, it's very, I hate to use the word like, refreshing to hear, I guess, because it's
Validating?
not good, right? But it's just one of these like, well, at the very least, we can see this is human nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's not some new evil that's been invented by some, malicious figure. It's like, this is just sort of how newspapers and humans and politics have all interacted since we've had this going. It's like this had nothing to do with politics, but they saw the story, they connected dots that weren't there and went, look, aren't you seeing this? I hate to say it, but it sounds an awful lot like Fox News.
Maybe so, yeah. Well, and actually, along with the lines of what you're saying, the whole thing was weakening the Whig party.
Jeez.
And the Tory party was like rallying. So like she's becoming a martyr.
Yeah.
As we know, when it rains, it pours. In addition to the Lady Flora Hastings scandal, Victoria was also about to make her way through what was known as the bedchamber crisis.
Okay.
I know it actually sounds, it's not
the scandal that I think it is.
It's not that type of scandal. It is a scandal.
Okay.
In short, there was this vote in Parliament where the Whigs won by just a slim 5-vote majority. But because of this, since Lord Melbourne was the Prime Minister, but it was such a small majority that he won by, he said he would resign. This is like a thing. I think that's how we get a lot of prime ministers. Like,
weird.
if
When they
their-
can't pass
if their
certain
majority
initiatives or
is not
something.
as big as it was before, they're like, I'm stepping down because they're maybe about to really lose. So they kind of just take a step back before it goes all the way to hell.
If anybody is listening out in the UK and is able to provide us like
Yes.
a page
I
write-up
would
of just
love-
generally how this stuff works, Parliament, I'm thinking Prime Minister, all this, I want to know, and I don't know where I can just find this in a concise way.
I spent much time looking up the bedchamber crisis and getting the exact details
Yeah.
about what happened next because I was confused and I'm still a little confused, but I think I got it. So basically, because of this almost losing vote, Melbourne says, I'm stepping down. Victoria goes and asks the Duke of Wellington, who's a friendly, to form a new government, but he declined. He was like, I'm not doing this. So then she goes to a Tory named Robert Peel. She never really liked Robert Peel. She thought of him as kind of cold and like she just never warmed up to him.
Okay.
Now, Peel did want to become prime minister, but he knew that if he did, he would actually be a minority leader.
Interesting.
And that wouldn't be good for his political career. Just like you can't get anything done.
Yeah.
If you're not in charge of the people that are going to be voting to win stuff, like what's the point is basically what he thought.
Sure.
But he was still considering it, so he wanted to bargain. And he said, Victoria, if you take some of your ladies in waiting who were all Whigs and you replace them with some Tories, then I will do it. And that pissed her off because, as she astutely pointed out, there had never been any other sovereign who had been asked by Parliament to change their little circle of
Their
friends.
entourage, yeah.
Yes. And actually never again since. But he was like trying to get something probably because she was a young female queen. And he was like, well, maybe I can do this to my political advantage. And then there'll be Tories in her ear. And then that'll change, But she was like,
it makes sense weirdly.
It does. But the point was, it wasn't appropriate.
Sure.
And she said no. And so he said publicly, he was like, well, I was so glad to be considered. But he said, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So ultimately, and in this time, Victoria is like freaking out because she loves Lord Melbourne and she sees him every day because he's the prime minister and he's not going to be the prime minister. So she gets super depressed and like crying all the time.
Wait. Lord Melbourne's the prime minister now?
He was stepping down, which triggered all of this.
Oh, okay. Crazy.
This is only a couple days. It's not a long
Okay. Yeah, I
period
was like,
of time.
well, maybe I missed that or something.
Yeah, so his party had won a vote, but only by 5 votes, and he was like, it's time for me to step down because I don't have a bigger majority.
Okay.
So anyway, she was like devastated that she's going to lose Lord Melbourne, so that's why she would look for the Duke of Wellington. Then she's like, I guess I'll go to this Robert Peel guy who I don't like, and then he was like, well, you got to change your ladies in waiting, and she's like, nope. And so in the end, Lord Melbourne stayed the prime minister.
Jeez. Okay.
It
wow.
was just, but like all of this is public and happening, and it's like, what is going on up there? And the optics were just not great for all of this.
Yeah.
So the Lady Flora scandal is like still going on. This bedchamber crisis thing has happened. Things are not going so well for Victoria. She's really kind of having some missteps.
Yeah.
But what caused Lady Flora's bulging belly?
Yes.
At this point, it's months later. She's lost so much weight that she's skeletal.
Oh my gosh.
It's clear that she was not pregnant because she hasn't had a baby yet at this point. And Victoria's mother was like, she's gonna die.
Yeah.
The new rumor started that she'd actually given birth to a baby. And Victoria finally had a change of heart about all of this, and she went to see her.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is what she said, I found poor Lady Flora stretched on the couch, looking as thin as anybody can be, who is still alive, literally a skeleton, but very much swollen like a person who is with child, a searching look in her eyes, rather like a person who is dying.
Ugh.
And then a little bit more. And then at the end, she said, I hope to see her again when she was better, upon which she grasped my hand as if to say, I shall not see you again.
Oh.
So that was in June. And Lady Flora died on July 5th, 1839.
Oh,
so
man.
this all started in January. She's dead by July 5th.
Gosh.
Her last wish was to have an autopsy done.
Wow.
The rumors were still out of control. Even the day that she died, a protester said that she had died of a botched abortion.
Oh my gosh.
But the autopsy proved that that was not the case. Her liver was grossly enlarged and pressing on her stomach. And it's important to note, and I quote, that the autopsy said, the uterus and its appendages presented the usual appearances of a healthy virgin state. So Lady Flora was bullied and died young of liver cancer, not a botched abortion.
Oh man.
I know.
That's really sad.
It's so sad.
It's really sad.
So we talked earlier about how many of Victoria's letters and diaries were redacted by her
Yeah.
daughter, Princess Beatrice, after Victoria's death. And this was one of those instances. The whole scandal was one of Victoria's regrets throughout her entire life.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Misguided animosity in youth and judgment of a woman who was completely innocent.
Yep.
I think about how long life can be and how stupid you can be when you're young. And the people were on Lady Flora's side at this point. When Victoria passed in a carriage, people threw rocks, and there had to be like a strong police presence wherever Victoria went. Victoria was blamed for Lady Flora's death. She later wrote, I can't think of what possessed me. And she indicated that this was a lesson to never jump to conclusions because of the way that people looked.
Jeez.
Several thousand people came to Lady Flora's funeral as she had become a martyr for the Tories.
Yeah.
The summer was not great for Victoria, and she became increasingly sensitive to challenges to what she said. If we remember our friend Harriet Martineau, she wrote this about Victoria in this time. At her ascension, I was agreeably surprised at her appearance. The upper part of her face was really pretty, and there was an ingenious and serene air which seemed full of promise. At the end of the year, the change was melancholy. The expression of her face was wholly altered. It had now become bold and discontented. That was, it is now supposed, the least happy part of her life. Released from the salutary restraints of youth, flattered and pampered by elated Whigs who kept her to themselves, misled by Lord Melbourne, and not yet having found her home, she was not like the same girl that she was before. So at the very least, people had sympathy for her. Because, like, this is out of character for people. Like, this is just mean.
Yeah.
And it really was. She had the wrong people around her and, like, feeding it. And it was just...
I also just imagine being 20 years old and, you know, everybody here that's been 20 years old or is close to 20 years old, I would even say, you already have your regrets. And if you are past 20, you're going to go, gosh, damn, I wish I didn't do these certain things. And I can only imagine having those things happen, but you're also in charge of an entire country. And those are the mistakes that you're making in your 20s is, oh, I'm going to have to learn in the harshest, nastiest way possible.
And most public.
Public, all over the newspapers. I'm going to have to learn the don't judge a book by its cover lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just horrifying to think about, to be honest with you.
I know. But again, it did say that she learned her lesson.
I mean, good. It's it's so sad, that poor girl.
The thing that I think about, she probably would have died anyway.
Well, undoubtedly.
But she was just totally publicly shamed for something she didn't do at all.
And in her physical pain, had to then live through all of this social and emotional pain that was like compounding on, I can only imagine, did not help. In her, I wonder if she had been not seen that way and not judged so harshly, if at least the joy of having company and love around her would have at least prolonged her life for a few more months.
Or maybe there was some sort of treatment they could have given her
Who
if
knows?
they had. But I don't know how you would know about a liver at that time. It's not like there were X-rays, I don't think, or anything like that. So, or blood tests or whatever. So it was very tragic.
That's really sad.
So it took a little more time for this scandal to completely die out. In the fall of 1839, not 1939, 1839, Lady Flora's brother, and also she just had a very supportive family.
Yeah, sounds like it. Determined, too.
Yes.
I like it.
He published correspondences in the paper, like things that outlined the entire thing from her perspective.
Yeah.
Dr. Clark released a summary of his invasive exam. One day after the publication of that report, Victoria awoke depressed. But that day was the day that things changed for her, because Prince Albert came to see her at Windsor Castle. And with that, we will pause for the next episode.
Oh, I want to know who Prince Albert is.
Well, we've met him before. Remember, he's her cousin, and he had a brother named Ernest.
Yes,
and then he visited a few years before, and he was rather sickly.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
So Prince Albert, Uncle Leopold's nephew, it's her cousin.
Yes.
So Prince Albert is coming to visit.
Oh boy, it sounds like sparks are going to start to fly.
Maybe.
Well, wow. I feel like I'm going to have to keep buckling myself up for more intensity of Queen Victoria. I knew the royals were dramatic. I knew this. You know what I mean? They've always been. I had a friend named Bryn that I used to know as a teenager. He came out to LA for a while. And I asked him about the royals, and his opinion was, he was born and raised in like Manchester, I'm pretty sure. He goes, you know, people have different opinions, but mine is my tax is going to a soap opera. That's exactly what he said. And he said, you know, some people agree, some people don't. My in-laws, who are from Wales, they said they cannot imagine the UK without the royals. They just said it's part of their history and part of their culture, and they love having the royals. So it's very split, from my understanding, between the folks from the UK. But man, I don't know that I was quite this prepared for this type of, like, this is harsh. This is harsh stuff.
That particularly was very harsh.
Yeah, man. But super fascinating.
Yep, it's all very fast. I mean, I don't know. I think of the United States and I think of something that's like more modern. Like I picture the Pentagon or something. I'm like, yeah, we've got the White House. And I just picture like guys in suits drinking scotch, like coming up with what's going to happen.
Sure.
And then like if I think of England, I think of like tea and hats and the guys in the room rah, 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 shouting and like waving their papers and wearing their wigs. But like it's more proper and it's more it's more fun.
Feels more dignified, to be honest.
Yeah, not that this was dignified, but
sure.
It does feel more dignified and like I don't know. Dignified is the right word.
I also think there's something to do with it's like a similar effect to the Catholic Church, I think, right? Where when something is so old that you don't even really have a true concept of how old that thing is, it can kind of keep going in perpetuity regardless of the missteps that it goes through. And obviously the Catholic Church has had many over the centuries, and yet we still have the masses of people that are devout Catholics, and we still have the Vatican, and we still have all of this stuff. And I feel like there's something with that with the Royals too, where it's like, this goes back so far that it's past the point of even a debate of if it should exist or not. It's just, well, it is what it is, and we just have to kind of ride the coaster.
Well, and I mean, people are trying to cancel the dark parts of history and like hide them and stuff. And maybe I have a different perspective because I'm not somebody who was oppressed, but like we shouldn't just hide these sorts of things because in 100 years people are going to forget and then they're going to repeat.
Totally.
And like I don't think that's. I think it's important to, I don't know. So, okay, I just went to Scotland and Ireland.
Yep.
And I went to the battlefield where basically all the clans were killed out in Scotland.
Oh, okay, like the Highlanders and all that stuff.
Cullogan? I can't remember how to say it.
I have no idea.
And that, I had not learned much. I mean, I knew that, like we said before, like the British Empire conquered a lot and took a lot.
Yes.
And all this stuff. But this was these proud Scottish people. They're still part of the UK. They like Ireland has moved on. They're not part of the UK anymore, but Scotland is, and it's part of the history. And
Northern Ireland's part of the UK.
Yes, but the other part of
Irish Republic.
Yes. And I don't know. I found the museum that was at this battlefield was really interesting because it was really cool. They told the story of everything that happened from the perspective of if you're British and the perspective of if you were the
That's really cool.
Scots. So literally the room had like the story going from either side.
That's cool.
And I mean, you can look at something like that and you can be like, clearly this was wrong to wipe out all the clans of Scotland.
Sure.
But it's still interesting, and you should see it from multiple perspectives just to understand. You can still say, and they were the worst,
right?
But just wiping out one side or the other of history is never the right thing, in my opinion.
And the more that I learn about the history of the UK, the more this gets very murky. Because and I know obviously that this show that I'm about to mention is with many, many historical liberties, but there's a really cool show called Vinland Saga. It's an anime show, and it's all about the Viking invasion of the UK. Obviously, like I said, many historical inaccuracies and liberties and things like that, but the general sense of the story is true. It's like it catalogs the invasion of the Vikings over the course of several different attempts. It shows the different ethnic groups that are living throughout the UK at the time. There's the Saxons and there's the Welsh or I think just the Celts at that point. And really where I'm going with this is to say that all of the landscape of the UK has changed dramatically over the past 1,000 years or so. One culture that says this is our land almost definitely is not their land. They took it from somebody else 300 years prior, and now it's theirs. And so then the English come along, and then they were the ones that were fighting the Saxons, and the Saxons were it was this whole orchestra of craziness that led to Land Territories where it is now. But it's fascinating to hear about this kind of Scottish side of things now too, because I know that there is still talk to this day of, should Scotland just be independent, especially after Brexit?
It was interesting because our tour guide, he actually was English.
Okay.
And he'd only moved to Scotland like a little more than a year before. But it was kind of cool because he had like all but denounced being English.
Wow.
He's like, I am a Scot now.
Wow.
Like he loved Scotland and then he almost started talking about opinions on should Scotland leave the UK or not. And he's like, but let's not get political. This is just a tour.
Yep.
And so it is 100% a topic. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I just wish people would be kind.
It's fascinating, but it is funny to hear about that, about like the Scottish English thing, because I've just started watching MasterChef. Yes, I'm 10 years behind the game.
I've not watched it.
It's fine. It's not a great show. I can't really. I mean, it's like it's literally American Idol for cooking. That's what it is. It's no different. But there's a point where somebody says something to Gordon Ramsay about like, oh, and you'd love this. You're English, and he fairly angrily goes, I'm Scottish. And like, like he's like, don't even. There is a line, and I am not of that other line. Like, it's pretty funny.
Gordon Ramsay is known for his temper too, right?
He is, but this was one of those where like, you could see it that it wasn't him just like for the camera screaming, and he didn't scream. It was like you could just feel the like, whoa, now, don't. I am not English. I am Scottish. There is a difference, and don't you dare.
Don't
like,
mix it up.
It was right. It was more of like this, like, it's strange to say, it was like him being very serious about it is how I felt, versus he can scream and there's a cartoonishness to it where you're like, okay, he calls you a donkey and stuff, and it's like kind of fun.
I mean, if someone was like, you're from Louisiana, I'd be like, I'm from Texas.
Yes.
I mean,
it's fairly
a
similar.
little bit, I don't know.
Or if you said like, hey, you have a southern accent, you're from Mississippi, and you'd be like, dude, no, I'm from New Orleans. Like,
yeah,
big difference. You know what I mean? Like, my mom's from New Orleans, and she'd be like, no, New Orleans, not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not from,
well, I mean,
else.
okay, let's take it easier. So people be like, oh, you're from Texas? You from Houston? And I'd be like, no, I am from Dallas.
Oh, God, I can see. In my mind, I'm like, Dallas seems worse than Houston.
Oh, there's a whole thing there. And actually, it's funny because Dallas is DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. And, I saw this comedian once who I never think about Fort Worth. I'm not like, oh, they're some city that's trying to be Dallas or be like Dallas. But apparently Fort Worth has this kind of like little man complex about Dallas a little bit. I didn't know until this Fort Worth comedian. He was really funny. But I was like, oh, are we supposed to, are we rivals? And they're like, yes, we are.
I have no loyalty to Texas whatsoever, but I will say, as I go through like Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, and random videos of people doing cool crap pops up, it's like 9 times out of 10, wherever they are, it's in Texas.
Really?
Yeah. So like the most recent one that I was like, well, I need to go to there, is it's basically like, so what you do is I'm sure you're gonna have like drinks and stuff and have a good time, but like it's this indoor place and you rent a golf simulator room. Okay, you literally have to like open up a glass door, but you go over there and you stand with your club, and it's a little hole in the ground, just goes beep, and a ball pops up on a tee, and you smack it against the screen, and it shows you the trajectory of your golf ball and how far you would have hit it, and you can like play games with your friends. It's basically like Topgolf but digital.
That seems like easier than Topgolf because I can't even get the ball on the tee. I'm
going to say screw Topgolf. I don't like Topgolf. They charged me $90 frickin' for an hour, and I got to seriously hit 20 balls.
Everything is crazy. We were trying to go bowling the other day. We wanted to have a lane for 2 hours for 2 of us. It was $75.
Holy hell.
Bowling used to be the cheap thing you do.
Totally.
Golf has always been expensive.
Well, but even like if I went to a driving range, like I want a bucket of balls, $20
Public- yeah,
something
public
like
course,
that, and you're
too.
there for an hour and a half just smacking away. I went to Topgolf for my bachelor party. That's where they all took me, and I remember, like, I didn't want to say it, but I was super disappointed because I was just like, dude, I barely got to hit anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not very good at golf to begin with, so all of my hits sucked, and I didn't get any of my targets, and I lost terribly. And I don't know, I just was upset because I was like, dude, you charged me like $90
and
to do this.
The problem with Topgolf is it's like people are conversing and drinking and stuff, and so it's like your turn, but you're waiting for like 3 people and they're not paying attention, and it's just I don't know. Like, we're not trying to poo-poo Topgolf. If you love Topgolf, then go for it.
I'm poo-pooing.
Food's okay.
I don't remember.
I had some pretty good nachos. But yeah, I don't know. We totally digress.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, that's some Queen Victorian stuff, and we're gonna move on to Prince Albert next time, and it will be fun.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully you're enjoying our series on Queen Victoria so far. As always, if you have any feedback, if you have any corrections, if you have any comments, like I said, I would really like it if somebody from the UK who knows about politics could write us like just whatever, like 2 or 3
we need to
paragraphs.
explain it to us like we're 5. I just saw a book online that was like quantum physics for babies.
Yes.
It was amazing. I need that.
Yeah. Or like Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of the Universe.
But like not Hawking length.
No, but
How
A Brief
brief
History
is-
of the Universe is not long. And it's the whole thing of the book was that he was trying to make it accessible to people. I admit I have not read all of it, but some of it that I've read is very interesting.
I want a board book on this.
Yes, but this is where we're going with this is if you are able to provide us any type of a little write-up of some sort on what the basic system is of the English Parliament, I would really like to know. And obviously that's going to be at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com. Aubrey has been doing a lovely job of updating our website as well. That's just thebiographerspodcast.com, so check it out there if you want any of our sources or any of our other links to our other places you can listen and stream.
Well, if you're interested in reading Caroline Lamb's 3-part novel,
Oh, yeah.
it's on there.
There you go.
I have links to it's like a PDF, so you can just read it. You don't have to
Sweet.
buy it or anything.
Sweet. And that's the account of the gal who was the pregnant one, right?
No.
Or the not pregnant one.
That was Lord Melbourne's wife who had an affair with Lord Byron.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That one. I'm getting my ladies confused.
I didn't find the account of Lady Flora Hastings, but if I do find that, I'll drop the link on
That'd
there
be
too.
super cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. And hope you're all doing well out there.
Yay! Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Biographers. For more information, please visit thebiographerspodcast.com.